Ragnaros, Sylvanas Windrunner, N'Zoth the Corruptor. The Doom in the Tomb update is live, and the standard meta has changed. Blizzard brought 23 wildcards back into the standard metagame. All players were given these cards for free for the duration of this event, leading to new decks and even developments in old decks. Thanks to this, the meta has changed and has felt almost as refreshing as the release of a new expansion. In today's Tempest Storm standard meta snapshot breakdown, we'll be taking a look at the top decks in the meta and analyzing how these cards have changed the game. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep up to date with our Hearthstone content. Without further ado, let's begin. Combo Priest no longer is the only deck on top of the meta. In fact, it is only the third best deck in the top tier. Combo Priest didn't receive any new tools from the wild cards, making it fall slightly behind Shaman. This does go to show simply how powerful Priest was though, as even without the additional support other decks received, it can still easily hold its own in the top tier. Leading off tier 1 is Evolve Shaman. As the name suggests, this deck is built around Evolve, and having large swing turns with it. The combination of Evolve with Desert Hare allows for some huge swing turns early in the game. Aside from these key cards, the deck runs the typical aggro Shaman package of Thunderhead alongside Overload cards in order to generate large boards. If a board goes unanswered, the game can be closed out with Vicina or Bloodlust. There aren't many heavy control decks currently to answer this deck, leaving it to run rampant on the standard ladder. Currently, the only bad matchup that the deck has on ladder is against Control Warrior. If you're running into a lot of Evolved Shaman, consider adding early game removal to your deck to give yourself a better chance, as it's pretty much the only way to keep up. Next up is Quest Shaman. This deck received new tools that it could opt to run, but typically it still just features a mostly standard list with few new cards. The reason this deck was pushed over the edge was the inclusion of Desert Hare and Evolve. While some lists experimented with adding the Curator for additional cycling, it seems that evolving minions to fight for board early is simply the best bet. This Quest Shaman archetype does well against both Murloc Shaman and Highlander Paladin, as you can take board fairly easily and keep them off of it once you have control. Also, both of these decks struggle against swing turns such as Desert Hare and Evolve, or Mogu Fleshshaper and Mutate. As for bad matchups, Quest Shaman struggles with Combo Priest pretty heavily, as the Priest can often close out the game before the Shaman has had a chance to even finish its quest. This matchup can be really interesting when it makes it to the later stages, but it often ends before that point. The last deck in Tier 1 this time around is Combo Priest. This archetype previously held the title of the only deck strong enough to be in Tier 1, but now others have joined it up top. As mentioned before, Combo Priest didn't receive any new tools with the Doom in the Tomb update, but the deck remains as powerful as ever. Combo Priest has some of the best 1-drops in the game, and when left unchecked, they can snowball the game out of control. Combo Priest has always been a deck that wants the opponent to do the least amount of things possible in the earliest turns of the game, as this is when the Priest can develop its biggest threats. If the Priest is left to its own devices for a few turns, the game can end fairly abruptly. For this very reason, Combo Priest's best matchup is against Quest Druid, as the Druid intends to pass the first few turns of the game in order to complete its quest. As for bad matchups, Combo Priest wishes to avoid playing against decks such as Murloc Shaman. They have an easier time taking over the board in the earliest stages of the game. On top of this, Murloc Shaman also has access to silence and poisonous minions, making it hard for the Priest to stick threats onto the board. Tier 2 continues to feature an array of decks that are extremely consistent, but slightly fall short of Tier 1. There are quite a few decks in Tier 2, so today we'll be taking a look at the 3 decks that are leading this tier. At the top of Tier 2 this time around is Control Warrior. This archetype gained quite a lot with the new cards, giving it a new late game shell with N'Zoth the Corruptor, alongside death rattles such as Sylvanas Windrunner. Aside from these additions, the deck has moved away from the taunt package and replaced it with the death rattle package. This gives the deck a better game against control decks, giving the warrior a solid way to push to close the game. As you'd expect, Control Warrior farms aggressive decks, making it a solid choice for ladder if you're playing against a lot of Evolved Shaman. As for bad matchups, Control Warrior struggles against decks with a lot of threats and consistent pressure, such as Quest Druid. Highlander Paladin has made a splash in the new meta and has made its way from Tier 3 to the top of Tier Tier 2. There are several variations of this list running around on ladder, with some players opting for a secret shell, with others choosing to run a more traditional mech shell. All the builds of this archetype have been performing well, and they each are good in different situations. Highlander Paladin does very well against Holy Wrath Paladin, as it plays proactive threats and can force the Holy Wrath Paladin to play their turns out awkwardly. Highlander Paladin can struggle against Tempo Rogue, as the deck has no way to stop the rogue's aggression. The Paladin will often just succumb to the damage that the rogue has. The last deck we'll be looking at in Tier 2 is Highlander Warrior. This archetype was gaining traction before the new cards were added to the pool, but now it's doing even better. The deck doesn't run any of the returning warrior cards, but instead added in some legendaries. While Sylvanas and Ragnaros serve as good minions for their cost, Emperor may seem kind of weird at first glance. The reason this card is included is that it can enable some insane burst turns when paired with Grommash Hellscream and Bloodsworn Mercenary. On top of this, the card just enables you to play some more cards in one turn, which can result in a huge tempo swing. Highlander Warrior has a good matchup against Combo Priest, making it a solid choice for ladder. The deck has enough ways to interact with the board that it's very difficult for the Priest to stick anything, making it impossible for them to combo you down. In terms of bad matchups, Highlander Warrior has a difficult time against Control Warrior, as the deck can easily remove your threats. It's difficult to burst down the more control style of Warrior, as we often can just generate enough armor to live through any damage. While the meta continues to shift every day, players are trying to find a way to secure an edge in their deck selection. It is difficult to target the entire top part of the meta due to how different some of the decks are, but we here at Tempestorm have a solution for you. Resurrect Priest is an archetype that has been finding success on the ladder lately. It's too early in the deck's life to see how strong it really is, but it definitely seems to do well against some of the top decks. We wouldn't be surprised to see it making its way to one of the top tiers in the coming weeks. What makes this deck so strong, you ask? Well, it has a good matchup against both Evolved Shaman and Combo Priest, giving it an edge against the majority of the Tier 1 decks. If you're looking to gain an edge while climbing the ladder, we strongly suggest picking up this deck. In conclusion, the Doom of the Tomb update has breathed new life into Hearthstone Standard, and there continues to be new developments every day. We're excited to see where the meta ends up, and will continue to bring you updates as it further evolves in future snapshots. Thank you for watching our Meta Snapshot breakdown. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for the latest developments. For now, have a good week, and happy laddering.